Welcome to Sessions by Monster Chats. Sessions is a new kind of show for us where we ditch the script and instead dig into the real stories behind the people in our professional lives. How do we all come together in this world of entrepreneurship, sales, and unified communications? One session at a time. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking with Adam Mendler. He is the CEO and founder of Veloz Group, and he's a fellow podcast host of the 30-Minute Mentors. My name is Colin Mitchell. I'm the host of Monster Chats and the founder of Monster VoIP. Adam, welcome to the show. How are you?
Colin, I'm great. Thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. I really want to learn more about your story and tell the listeners kind of, where you grew up, how you got into being an entrepreneur, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Sure. So I'm an LA native. You and I are not that far from each other, although when you're in LA, everyone's kind of far from each other.
I know.
Albeit with the pandemic, there isn't that much traffic right now, so we could probably get to each other in 10 or 15 minutes, but in normal times, it would take an hour, in rush hour, maybe even an hour and a half.
Right. Yeah.
So,
everybody kind of just sticks to their pockets because it's, they pull their hair out to get to somewhere that's close but feels far.
yeah, it could take 30 minutes just to cross the 405 in tough times. But
Yeah.
I'm an LA native, born and raised here. I grew up in the Valley, the San Fernando Valley. And for listeners who are not familiar with LA or with the San Fernando Valley, if the Valley was a city, it would be the fifth largest city in America. So it's a pretty big place. And I grew up in Tarzana, which is a suburb of LA. I grew up on a street called Veloz Avenue, which is where we got the name of our company, the Veloz Group. So when I was 28 and leaving my career in finance to become an entrepreneur and started this business with my brother, there was no choice but to name the company after Veloz Avenue.
Very cool. Okay. So what prompted you to leave finance and go down the crazy, wild entrepreneur path?
Yeah, I don't know that I was thinking that straight at the time, but I was 28 and I felt like it was the right time in my career to try something more entrepreneurial. My energy was never going to be higher. My expenses were never going to be lower.
Yeah.
I had worked for 4 different really large companies at that point in my career. I worked for 2 really big companies in the financial services world. I had worked for 2 big companies while I was getting my MBA in the entertainment industry. And I wanted to try something entrepreneurial. I also wanted to try to make more of an impact. When you're someone who wants to make an impact, it could be a challenge to do so as part of a big corporation, and particularly at a young age. And I just felt a calling to try to do that. And becoming an entrepreneur was my vehicle to try to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the reasons why I decided to start the Veloz Group. And all these years later, have just been at it, and it's been definitely a wild ride.
Yeah. What were some of the unexpected things you didn't realize you were signing up for as an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. And the first thing I can tell you, Colin, is I was given advice by other entrepreneurs that becoming an entrepreneur is exponentially harder than anyone understands. But I didn't understand that. Even having received that advice, it was advice that I listened to, but didn't really internalize until I did it myself. And it's advice that I give to other people who are thinking about starting businesses, but I tell them exactly that, which is, I'm telling you, this is way harder than you realize. This is way harder than anyone realizes, but you're probably not going to fully get it until you try it yourself. So that's one thing that I can tell you. You learn the hard way. This is much harder than it looks. It's glamorized by the media. It's glamorized by movies, television, and unfortunately, it isn't as easy as it looks.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO of the Veloz Group. I'm also the head of our janitorial services. If the office isn't clean, I'm the one who has to clean it. If something doesn't get done at any level of the organization, the buck ultimately stops at the top. So
Yeah.
it's something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily grasp entirely until they're in the chair.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so many different hats that you wear for sure, especially in the early days, right? And there's so many different things that you maybe have no interest in doing that you become responsible for. And it's a lot of work, it really is. I wouldn't trade it off. I like the hard stuff about being an entrepreneur. I'm a part of 4 different companies and at different levels and capacities. And I really like the beginning stage of starting with nothing and trying to build something. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things about running a business or parts of it that I don't enjoy doing that have to get done. Right.
Totally. And particularly in the early innings of a business, you're spending a lot of time doing things that you would much rather not do. But if you don't do it, who's going to do it? As your business grows, you have the luxury to bring in people to essentially position you in a way where you can spend more and more of your time doing what you're really good at, doing what you love, doing what you're best at. But in those early days, you're doing everything. You're wearing a lot of different hats, and you have to be prepared for that. If you want to simply focus on one particular thing, if you want to have a 9 to 5, if you want to have a 9 to 5 mindset, this is not the thing for you to do.
Right. No, I totally agree. And even when before you can even delegate or hire people or have people that are more experts, like you got to create some sort of process. I mean, there's some entrepreneurs I think that are of the mindset that maybe, I don't want to have to know anything about that maybe department or that part of the business. But for me, that personally doesn't work. I like to at least do part of something or get something started before it can be delegated or passed to somebody else or hire, inside, internally or externally. I like to at least know at least the core basics of certain functions in different departments, even though there's something that I may not enjoy doing.
Yeah, a really good point, Colin. And when you take classes in business school, I took classes in business school for 6 years. I went to USC Business School as an undergrad. I went to UCLA Business School as an MBA. And trust me, you don't have to go to business school to be a successful entrepreneur. But one of the things you learn in business school is the difference between working on your business and working in your business. It's something that you learn as an entrepreneur as well. And you, in your early days as an entrepreneur, have no choice but to work in your business, because if you don't work in your business, who is?
Right.
You have to be the one doing the dirty work. And as your business grows, if you're still working in your business and that's what you're doing all day and all night, your business isn't going to scale. Your business isn't going to take that next step. You have to spend more and more of your time working on your business, working strategically, working on things that can help your business grow.
Yeah.
And you have to bring people in who can ultimately work in your business. So that's something that entrepreneurs should really understand. But at the same time, in those first few years, or depending on how long it takes, it might be for 1 year, but at least in those first few innings, you have to work in your business to really understand it and get it off the ground.
No, yeah, 100%. And I actually just did this on this last Friday, and I posted something about it where we just took a whole day, blocked off the calendars, had nothing scheduled, which felt really good to just 100% go into strategy and planning and work on the business. And it was a super productive day, got a lot of new things cooking, a lot of new ideas that we can now start to execute on. And I've never really done that consistently Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs can get so stuck, like you said, working in the business that they don't they hit a wall, and they don't understand why they can't grow. And it's because they're constantly just hustling and grinding inside the business, that they don't get to take their time or create the space to give themselves and allow the creativity to work on the business, which I think is so important and should be a regular, consistent practice of every entrepreneur.
Very well said. I don't know why you have me on the podcast, man. You could just give advice for 30 minutes and I could listen.
No, I mean, I think that there's a lot of alignment and things
I'm just giving you a hard time.
that we agree with. And I think the listeners prefer the conversational. So
Colin, I'm just giving you a hard time, man.
No, I can take a hard time. That's totally fine.
I hope you don't mind me pulling your leg.
Definitely not. So tell me a little bit more about Veloz Group and what you guys do and how, tell us about the early days and where you guys are now.
Yeah, so we have a few different businesses. The early days were, as my grammar, my mom will, if she listens to this episode, is going to get angry anytime I make a grammatical mistake. I just think of my mom with that disappointing mom face. How could you screw up your grammar?
We'll clean it up. We'll do a good edit job.
That's what moms do. But the early days of the Veloz Group consisted of a lot of ideation, consisted of a lot of brainstorming, consisted of lots and lots of different ideas that we wanted to turn into businesses. We had probably 10 different ideas that we thought we would turn into businesses. And off the air, Colin, when you mentioned to me that you had 4 different businesses that you were running, I had a little bit of a laugh because we run 3 different businesses, and a lot of people, including to me, that's a lot. So when you said 4, that's a lot. But in our early days, we had all these different ideas. And after about a year and a half of pushing on idea after idea after idea, we came to the realization that 10 business ideas at once was completely unfeasible. And we had to just focus on the ideas that were closest to monetization. So our 2 business concepts that were closest to becoming businesses were an office furniture idea called Beverly Hills Chairs and a cigar concept called Custom Tobacco. And those are our primary businesses. And we started a 3rd business, which we run today, called Veloz Solutions. And a little bit about those 3 businesses. Beverly Hills Chairs, we've built out into the leading seller in the country of refurbished brand name office chairs. So what we do is we sell brand name office chairs. So the Herman Miller Aeron chair, the Herman Miller Mira chair, the Steelcase Leap chair, all the chairs that customers really want, they have to spend well over $1,000 per chair for. We sell them for 50% off or more. We offer them in like brand new condition. They look like they're new, functionally, aesthetically, and we provide a lifetime warranty. Wow. That's all our businesses. We've sold to lots of different well-known companies all across the country. Now, during this pandemic, we've been selling to a lot of home offices. That's been a big trend for us. So it's been an interesting business and an interesting time for that business. Custom Tobacco is a one-of-a-kind platform where you can create your own fully customized private label cigars in real time. So everything is customized: the shape, the size, the blend, the wrapper, the filler, the flavor, and the cigar band itself is customized. So customers can go to customtobacco.com and design their own cigar band with their own logo in real time. Premium cigars sourced from the Dominican and Nicaragua. And it's been a very popular product for event planners, been a very popular product for people looking for gifts. If you think about how
business gifts and such like that.
Totally. How hard is it to buy gifts for whoever the man in your life is? That man could be your client, that man could be your boss, that man could be your buddy, your boyfriend, your husband, your uncle, your grandfather, whoever that person is. Think about how hard it is. So that's a second business we built. And we have a software development company called Veloz Solutions, where we work with early stage to middle market companies. And we have a team of Google caliber engineers that we're able to price very competitively. We build custom software for lots of different companies. We've found a bit of a niche in the insurance space. But as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for opportunity, and you have to be nimble, and lots of lessons learned, but somehow or another, we've been able to build out those three businesses.
Yeah. And what were some of the early day ideas that didn't make the final cut?
Oh my God.
You said you had to go from 10 to 3. Give us a little taste of some of the
oh my God,
some of the original list.
I'm too embarrassed to say. And
come on, make mom proud.
You know what? I'm actually gonna hold off, and I'll tell you why. Because you never know. Maybe one of those ideas will come back to the drawing board, and maybe one day we'll bring one of those back. Sometimes you have a lot of really, really bad ideas that one day become good ideas. When you think about fashion, and trust me, I'm the last person to ever give fashion advice. I don't know who tuning into this podcast is going to be tuning in on an app on iTunes or Spotify or Google Play, or Stitcher, or who's going to be watching the video. If you watch the video, you'll probably know I'm not the most fashionable guy. So I'm not exactly the person who should be giving out fashion advice. But in the world of fashion, old can be new, new can be old. What was fashionable 50 years ago is going to be out today, but what was out 50 years ago could be in today. So who knows, maybe one of those ideas that we threw away back in 2013 in 2023 could be our next big idea.
It's definitely possible. Definitely possible. So tell us a little bit about your podcast.
I'd love to. So my podcast is called 30-Minute Mentors. I go one-on-one with the most successful people in the country for 30 minutes every week. So it's an opportunity for anyone interested in learning from the best network of mentors possible. CEOs and founders of household name companies, celebrities and athletes, generals and admirals. Some of my guests so far have included the CEOs of Gold's Gym, Deloitte Consulting, Barry's Boot Camp, Campbell Soup. This week's guest, I'm not sure when the show is airing, but as of when we're doing this interview, I had the founder and CEO of Birchbox. I've had founders of Electronic Arts, founders of FanDuel, Kayak, Square, military leaders, Martin Dempsey, who's the highest ranking military officer in America under President Obama, four-star general. Admiral Jim Stavridis was the four-star admiral, Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, and lots of other great military leaders. Some celebrities, athletes. Rob Lowe is on the podcast, Suzanne Summers, Ryan Tedder, Terrell Davis. So try to bring in some diverse and interesting perspectives. And the goal of the show is for anyone listening to be able to invest 30 minutes and in each episode, learn how to become a better leader, how to become more successful professionally, how to become more successful personally. I can tell you, Colin, in every interview that I do, I'm learning. I'm learning a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
I'm learning. I wish I could take notes as I'm interviewing, but what I do is I go back and I listen and listen again, because these are the people out there with the most wisdom and insight. And what I try to do is I try to pull as much of it as I can in the course of those 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's one of the biggest benefits of interviewing people. You get to learn along the way too, which makes it that much more fun. Sounds like you're really getting some fantastic guests and creating some good quality content for folks. I'm guessing you're on all the regular audio platforms.
Yeah, so I try to make it as easy as possible for listeners You can download it, subscribe through literally any podcasting app. So whatever app you're listening to this great podcast on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, all of them.
Yep.
And it's also available at 30minutementors.com. That's all spelled out, 30-minute mentors.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thanks so much for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the Monster Chats community. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends. We're listening for your feedback. The show is all about you. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Sessions by Monster Chats, presented to you by Monster VoIP. Monster VoIP started frankly because we were sick and tired of getting gouged on our business phone bill and getting dropped calls all of the time. Today, Monster VoIP serves over 6,000 customers and is passionate about saving businesses money and giving them the features that they need in a modern tech stack for today's companies. Text TRIAL to 424-378-6966 to get your free trial of Monster VoIP.